The Greek ideal for education was called paideia. It's where we get our English word pedagogy. And it was focused on not just learning for content, it was the development of virtues for life and leadership. And it was based on the assumption that character could be instilled through an intentional learning process, and that people of well developed character were necessary for a healthy society. So the primary purpose was to help us grow as a person and not just to acquire knowledge. Acquiring knowledge was part of that. And this philosophy remained paramount in education in the West for centuries. You will hear the founding fathers of the United States talking about this and the virtuous citizenry and the virtuous society. And part of their assumption, by the way, was that a democracy was only possible among virtuous citizens. And a lot of this is built upon Aristotelian thought, who was one of those who was deeply influential in this. And this was true even as various content areas, today we call them disciplines, were added to the standard educational journey that is fortunate enough to be able to pursue one. And so in the Middle Ages, you had the quadrivium, which became it's four pieces, the 4 years of a what became a bachelor program. And then you had the trivium, which were three more topic areas or content areas. It became the 3 years that were typical then of a master's program. By the time we get to the Industrial Revolution, however, different ideal emerges, and it's very much in contrast to the Paideia model. And it's called Wissenschaft. It's a German term for the pursuit of specialized knowledge. And it's done for largely technical purpose. And this was because an educated workforce was necessary to manage the operations and bureaucracies of industrialized societies. And therefore, education took on another purpose. Not that the other one was abandoned entirely, but educating virtuous citizens for the well functioning of society was not the only goal anymore. And we need people who have technical knowledge and skills who can read, write, and do arithmetic in order to be able to support the machines, the processes of the Industrial Revolution. And this ideal is what has remained in force for most of the past century and a half, 150 years or so. Um, and has created much of higher education as we know it. This is a reason we do have baccalaureate degrees and master's degrees and doctoral degrees, and they are largely regarded as an improvement in the professions. That's why accreditors want institutions to prove that students can do these jobs, do these degrees, and get jobs because it's understood to be vocation oriented. And vocation, of course, at least in the West, has been narrowed from a broader calling on how to live one's life into what do I do for a career in order to make money. Now, of course, the Industrial Revolution contributed greatly to the improvement of general living conditions for many, not all. It did end up impacting many, many people narrowly, but it did contribute also to the rising expectations of an educated citizenry. But it's also resulted in times in a reductionist perspective on humanity. We're only good for what we do and for as long as we do it, for what we can make, for the skills that we have. And so it has often been times neglectful of the soul in its pursuit of skill development or damaging to the spirit and its claims on our intellect. What do you know becomes more important than who are you? It has also resulted, and we have to admit this, in an institution of higher learning, in an inappropriate arrogance sometimes among the most educated in our population. And this is a little bit ironic because you would think that those of us with a deeper education might be most aware of how little we can actually know, the great mysteries of life in the universe. I mean, many of us have had that experience, haven't we? That the more we know, the less we know, the more we see that there is out there. And one would think that it could make us more humble, more tentative, more generous, more hospitable to other ideas. And sadly, it has not. And sadly, this pattern has often been true, in some contexts, even more so among people of faith, whom we might expect to be even more attuned to epistemic humility than most. We know what we don't know, and we also have that scripture verse that reminds us that knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. And so, while we are not neglecting the mind, we are also paying deep attention to the heart and to developing a capacity for love. And yes, to our hands, to the opportunity to be able to give that love to the world in a way that is indeed wise. So our generation has an opportunity then, I think, to pursue a more holistic ideal of education than we've had in some time, rooted in a more holistic understanding of human personhood, something that integrates all of who we are and does not bifurcate us and does not prioritize one thing over the other, but allows us to become more fully human, even as we become more fully made in the image and likeness of God. Hopefully, you have that experience as we do this course together. Thank you.